Yeah, thank you again. We should give Pooja a big round of applause.
Thank you, Hans.
No, thank you for accepting the invitation. And I was delighted when Pooja sent me, links to your work. And I was particularly interested in this very interdisciplinary aspect of your practice, because obviously you have degrees in psychology and also film production, plays a role. And you then sort of through experimental filmmaking came into video games. So I think maybe we could begin with you telling us a little bit how you came to video games and maybe introducing your practice, and we can also see a few images.
Yeah, I mean, I've prepared a slide. Sure, if I can go through that. As a research-based artist, my practice is heavily process-driven. I'm interested in a conceptual playground for ludic propositions, working through a speculative process for a not yet made game. I've engaged with an expansive wild archive that grew from an encounter with a live archaeological dig close to the mangroves of Old Goa. In response to the discovery of the remains of a Georgian queen's hand, I investigate the multiple narratives that span across various geographies and times, leaving a lasting impact on me as an artist. The ongoing project created various iterations of video game prototypes, hybrid board games, and immersive ludic installations. So actually I came into game design through this project, through this investigation of this work.
And can you tell us a little bit more about these multiple narratives which are in your practice? Because the work is full of narratives. It can be documentary narratives, it can be film, but there is also ancient history, mythology, fiction, and all of that is kind of transformed into not only a virtual experience, but actually a quite physical experience. And I think that's something which we realized, we realized it working at the Serpentine on video games. We developed a game with Gabriel Massan, and that was very much a mixed reality experience. It was an experience of actually playing a game, but also being in a physical installation. And the same thing was true also with the world building exhibition. We saw how many artists actually really work with video games in a way how we could never experience it on a mobile device or at home with a computer. It's something for which we really come to the museum. It's a multi-sensory experience. So I wanted to ask you to tell us a little bit about your installations. We can see here, these are physical installations, and how you kind of weave together these many different narratives.
Well, actually it came from the research process itself. Like the multiple narratives kind of exist together without any hierarchy. And I wanted the player to navigate on their own, through their own choice of interest, whether they would be interested in the footage of a Georgian filmmaker or in ancient history or, mythology. So, and everything is kind of interconnected, so you can enter and exit from any point. I mean, that was the idea of having a world of multiple narratives.
Can you talk a little bit about how you connect to literature? Because obviously literature plays a big role, and I wanted to ask you to kind of talk about the literary inspirations behind the work.
The literature, in what way?
Writing.
Yes. Well, because it's so narrative heavy, and I go through not only my own experience of investigating my personal histories, but also pieces of evidence that I come across through archaeological evidence or historical material. And to put this together in a kind of speculative, fictional setup, I tend to write a lot. And that produces its own effect.
Now, also ghosts play a certain role in the work, and there is a very basically important work in your practice called The Traveling Hand, and that's
Yes.
an immersive game on which you worked for a long time. And I think that's also interesting, the idea that a lot of these video games are kind of, when artists work on world building, which goes beyond the time horizon, of an exhibition or of event culture, they can evolve over years. And in this case, it's even more, it's almost a decade you worked on it. So, and that's something I think important, that the Brodelin longue durée, which plays a role in many of this, and also the fact that these works then keep evolving, they keep changing, there are feedback loops. So I wanted to ask you to tell us a little bit about that and how, because you connect there to mangroves of Goa, but you connect also to haunted cities.
How did I? Sorry, you wanted me to explain just this work. Well, the thing is that over the period of this decade, it was not only that I would return to this work, but the work would return to me, and that's why I considered it a sort of like haunting on its own. This continuous point of return would create its own game mechanic, as well as stories that would evolve through time. And in this case, I wanted to talk about how the language of archaeology produces like doubt and uncertainty. And I wanted to work on this in the game over a period of time. Lived with this project, which not many, it doesn't happen often.
And do you have games you want to do which you haven't been able to do yet, kind of unrealized video games? One thing we noticed, working on the world building research, is that many artists have, unrealized video games they want to do in the future. What is your unrealized project?
Yeah, I actually do have an image. 1 second. This is... Oh, I'm sorry. This is just a video of me doing the research around the Queen's hand. And I feel like I'm also in a video game because I'm wearing spyware glasses to secretly record, a secret location.
It's really a secret words of Welsh poetry. I will just take a these. You're ready to
So here I was like one of the first few people to discover a 16-foot wide fresco inside this Portuguese church. And I will be doing a work on this as well, about this discovery. This is the board game, hybrid board game, which has a digital element and an analog element. Yes. So this is the new work. It's a video game based in the mangrove forest. And it's a survival game in the hostile mangrove where a runaway seeks refuge in the dense interconnected roots and non-solid ground. This game rethinks our instrumental relation to both nature and technology that moves towards an ecology of situated knowledge that recognizes multiple forms of knowing and being human in times of planetary breakdown. And here, it's an engagement with the mangrove forest itself and stories from history and contemporary stories as well in my research that come into it. Yeah.
And that's, of course, another pattern, I think, that in many of these artist video games we can see a focus on a kind of a being in communion with the environment. There's a sort of strong ecological dimension, and that's also in your work, no?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to include this as well, because as part of the artistic research process for a video game, I found that I came across a technological limitation of how the character can move in the mangrove forest. And I decided to, go through choreography and dance to kind of capture something that's incomputable. What does it mean to move on non-solid ground and resist algorithmic reduction and total abstraction? So this is something that's not really possible in video game engines. So I look to artistic mediums to come back to the video game process as well.
Amazing. Maybe a very last question I wanted to ask you. What's your favorite video game? Is there a video game you play a lot and spend a lot of time with?
Not really. There's too many that comes out ever so often. But yeah, Death Stranding was also inspiration for me to think about a walking simulator and, moving in the mangroves as well. So I could say that.
Amazing. A big round of applause for Gayatri. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Another big round of applause. Thank you very much.